90.7 WNCU member-supported radio. Good afternoon. You're listening to Jazz Stage at WNCU 90.7. I'm Serena, and today is the second day of the WNCU Cares Artist Series here at the station. And before I get to all of the great questions for this upcoming guest that I'm so happy to be a part of and to be in here with, you just heard the John Brown Quintet on the tune Caravan off of his album Terms of Art, and Ray Codrington was on trumpet, Gabe Evans was on piano, saxophonist Brian Miller, and we'll get to that name in a minute, and then our guest, Mr. John Brown. Hello, everybody. Hello, John. How are you?
Good afternoon. I'm doing great.
Oh, my goodness. I'm excited to be in your midst. You're awesome.
I'm excited to be here. That was also Adonis Rose on drums.
Adonis Rose. I can't forget that. Sorry about that.
That's all right. No, I'm really happy to be here. It's nice to get out and be among people.
Yes.
Safely talking through this mask.
Oh, I think they are happy about that. And I know I am. Thank you so much for being a part of this experience. So can you tell me about, you said Brian Miller's name was something else. I know that's an inside joke, but
yeah, I won't put him on blast, but yes, I use a descriptor for Brian because we're brothers and we've been brothers a long time. We love each other. But a part of being brothers is to tease.
Right.
So those who know me know what I might say right now.
Right.
It's all in love.
Well, you know what? You had some heavy hitters on that album. I guess we'll get into that just a little bit. But ladies and gentlemen, this is an educator, a world-renowned bassist. He has played, well, first of all, grew up in Fayetteville, North Carolina.
That's right. Born and raised.
So can you tell me something? I mean, I know you played piano. You started with piano.
Right.
And then you went to bass. But during that midst of playing the piano, tell me about that experience.
Yeah, that was an interesting period. I think I was 5 or 6 years old and had been influenced by music in my whole life because my mother plays the piano and she played in our church choir. And her mother, my grandmother, and several of her sisters all sang in the choir. So I was being dragged to choir rehearsal from 5 years old.
Oh, wow.
And I remember listening to records. We used to have, the Motown sound in the house. Mm-hmm. And I was around music all the time. In fact, there's a short story I tell about our living room in Fayetteville. As I got older, I noticed there would be black dots on the one wall in our living room, little specks. And one day I finally decided to ask my parents why this one area had specks on the wall, and they said that they had they had painted the room a few times over, but they left it so that one day if I ever asked, they could tell me what that was. Oh, wow. When I was little, I used to climb up on the coffee table. I would put a record on a record player. Mm-hmm. I would climb up on the coffee table and take a felt pen and conduct to the music.
Wow.
And the ink would come out of the pen and got on the wall.
Wow.
So back in music is...
It's been in you.
It's been in me. And so when I had a chance to study the piano, a family friend, Frances Hunter, who has passed on now, but she was my teacher. And I just didn't like it.
Yeah.
I just didn't like it. The 5 or 6 year old me wanted to be outside throwing rocks or dirt or whatever it is.
But it's building your motor skills,
Yeah.
I guess at 5 you don't think about that.
That didn't take. I wanted to know when I was going to get my cereal, what time Batman was coming on,
That's it. That's it. Well, so if you didn't like the piano, you moved to the bass, and we know you as a bass man. So tell me about that. How were you inspired to play the bass?
It's an interesting story. Both my parents are retired school teachers, and my sister and I, we were typical kids. We like to watch television, but my parents made sure that we watched a lot of educational programming. So our television was on back in Fayetteville. It was Channel 4. It was on Channel 4, and more than it was on anything else. And I just remember one day walking past the television and seeing instruments assembled on the screen and watching the musicians play. So right away it caught my ear because of the history of, because of what had been in my ear already. But I just noticed the bass player was moving his hands in a very animated and unique way, and it caught my eye.
Yeah.
And it just one of those things that just kind of registered. I didn't ask anybody any questions, just kind of noticed it, and I kept it moving. So very shortly after
the
that,
seed was planted.
Yeah, indeed, the seed was planted. Very shortly after that, Susan Ellington and her husband Ken moved to Fayetteville from South Carolina, I believe, but they moved to Fayetteville to start an orchestra program. So they came to our school and demonstrated the instruments. And I remember when they pulled the bass out, I was like, hey, wait, that's that thing I saw. And the rest, as they say, is history.
Is history. Well, let's hear some of your bass in this next tune. This is you wrote this song. Well, you didn't write this song.
Which one is it?
In a Mellow Tone.
Oh, no. I wish. Yes, In a Mellow Tone,
Slick.
one of my favorites.
One of your favorites. You have a story for this one, or you want to wait?
I don't really have a story for this one, except, well, actually, I do have a story. So you want me to tell it now or later?
Let's tell it later.
Okay.
Let's get to the music.
Okay.
This is The Hour with John Brown in the studio at 90.7 WNCU. WNCU cares right here at the station. This is In a Mellow Tone. The John Brown Trio and a Mellow Tone off of the album Dancing with Duke. Tell us more about this album, this song. That felt good.
That just brings back such great memories, as do all of my recordings. It's kind of funny, as I was preparing and sending, thinking about which songs we might play today, I remember where I was in life, what was happening then, what was going on with the musicians, what was going on with me. They're all just very interesting markers that document places in life. This one in particular, the trio, is Cyrus Chestnut. We've been friends a long time, and Adonis Rose.
Mm-hmm.
This one is unique because I hadn't been at Duke that long then, but I was just, by the time I got to Duke, I was just such a creative space and so inspired in so many different ways.
I bet.
Settling into living in from Chapel Hill to Durham, and Durham being the community that it is, just like Durham was home. And I got to Duke and I'm home. Yes. So there's so many good things that come to mind. But this record in particular, I had met Cyrus in the early 90s. He was playing with Betty Carter, and I was playing with Elvin Jones and Delphio Marsalis during this time. So we've been friends ever since, and Adonis and I met playing with Ellis Marsalis trio or quartet, depending on what configuration at the time. But we had all been friends, so I played with both of them separately, and I was in a real period of, I want to make a record. I want to do something creative. So I had been doing some stuff with Adonis and doing some stuff with Cyrus, and I just thought the three of us need to play together.
Mm-hmm.
So I just said, hey, let's look at our calendars and look at where we're going to be. So it turns out that I was able to find a date when the three of us could meet up in Charlotte, where it's one of the second places I record. My first place is Overdub here in Durham. Shout out to Overdub and John Plymall, Wes, and Lisa. But the second place is Rick Dior's place down in Charlotte. Rick has been a friend a long time. We used to play in the Charlotte Symphony together.
Oh,
he's a timpanist with the symphony, but he's also a fantastic jazz drummer. But anyway, we decided we could meet in Charlotte for a few days. So I just said, let's get together. So I flew them to Charlotte and put them up, and we, I didn't really have a plan. I said, I know something magic's going to happen if we just get together. So let's just get together and see. And I had done it before where I went to studio and nothing happened. I just had to satisfy the curiosity to go in there.
Yeah.
And, thankfully some great weddings had come along and some great private parties, so they were able to subsidize frolicking in the studio.
Every musician knows about that. Well, they should know about that.
Oh, absolutely. You get good cake, and sometimes you leave with a nice, healthy subsidy.
There you go.
But indeed, that's what it was. We had done a bunch of those in a row, so I had some to go in the studio to experiment. And that's indeed what this was, because I didn't have an idea of music. I didn't have any arrangements. I had nothing.
Well, that's what happens. I think that's what happens when you're playing jazz. Well, the thing we call music, it's a science, as I was telling you before, you know. And if you know the science, then you can make the music happen.
That's right. That's right.
That turnaround. I know you were talking about that turnaround at the end.
Oh yeah.
Tell me about that, because that was.
Well, it's a part of that magic.
Mm-hmm.
We assembled, and I just, the night before we were having dinner at the Cajun Queen in Charlotte, got to shout them out. Crawfish scampi. I wish I could have some right now. But I know that some band members I'm around like to eat, and I know that that's inspiring and motivating.
Yeah.
Wait, are we talking about Brian again?
I think we're talking about, I don't know.
Brian and Cyrus. So no, we just sitting there, what are we going to do? So we finally just started talking and came up with the idea of honoring another one of the greats. And Duke Ellington's name came up. He has left us with such a gift, a huge library of tunes that inspire us. And
days,
we went into
years.
the studio just talking about, while we're standing there, talking about what songs inspired us. And I kind of led the conversation with songs I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But we came up with arrangements right there on the spot.
That's how it happens.
It's the magic that I knew would happen. So yes, indeed, that turnaround is one of those spots. If I had any idea that it was going to, it just felt so good.
It felt great.
It felt so good. And by the time we got to the turnaround, I wasn't really thinking about length. And people say, well, the radio stations are only going to play if it's this long or that long. But I wasn't really thinking about that. I just was like, man, if it's 20 minutes, I don't care. Let's just get in here. But we got to the turnaround, and Cyrus just we just kind of linked up. And if I could have, I keep saying Cyrus because I want to say Cyrus did not look at me. And I wanted to tell him, do not stop. Let's just keep playing. Like, we can do a second take for radio, or I'll do a radio edit or whatever, but let's just capture this magic.
You had to.
What was playing then could have gone on for another 10 minutes because of some of our live performances, the turnarounds. I mean, anybody that plays with me know I love a turnaround.
Well, you're a bassist,
Yeah.
I mean, ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the bassist John Brown in the studio for the WNCU Cares Artist Series. So happy that you're here. Thank you for sharing your stories.
Well, I'm honored to be here. I'm honored to be asked to be a part of this.
Well, hey.
It's essential. We're talking about what's essential now, right?
What is essential?
This is essential.
I know you wrote an article just a few moments. We will talk about that when we get back, but let's listen to one of your songs you created. This next song is Quiet Time. So can you tell us just a little bit about, is there a story?
There is a story.
Ballad. We're about to set the mood.
It is a ballad. I may go into some description about it on the other side.
Okay.
But this is one of very, very few compositions of mine that I've actually recorded and released. I'm very critical of my own work, and who wouldn't be? I mean, I grew up listening to all the greats, so how could I possibly write something that parallels the great songwriters? As well. But this is one where I felt something, and through composing this tune, through recording it and mixing and mastering it, the message was consistent, and I felt strongly enough about it that it is, right now, it's the only commercially available composition of mine that I have let out there for the world to experience.
Well, here's a piece of your heart, Quiet Time by John Brown at 90.7 WNCU member-supported radio. 90.7 WNCU. You know, John Brown, I'm going to let you talk about this song. It was so beautiful, a ballad, but, you know, when I hear the word quiet time, I think, okay, it's time to go to sleep. It's time to enjoy yourself.
Yeah, it's the concept behind this record was indeed to get us to quiet time. I really like my time of introspection and time to think and really connect with myself, just to kind of hear myself think. And I believe that we don't take enough opportunities as people to do that. So I wanted to put this record out there to encourage people to connect with themselves. And the second part of it is that my history is that I'm a romantic. So a part of it is to inspire couples to find something that helps them bond. But it's an interesting thing because there's a lot of dichotomy in jazz, as we know, and sometimes we pull on the message of the blues and find the joy inside my pain. So it's an interesting evolution. I guess the backstory of this record is that there's a lot of pain happening. I won't name anybody in particular, but there was one band member who was going through relationship struggle significantly. One band member who lost a family member suddenly to drowning, like the week before the recording.
Wow.
And this person almost didn't make the session, but wanted to, which is it's a huge point. This person, just a few days before this was scheduled, lost a family member, but wanted to come to share whatever he was experiencing.
The
and
power
that comes out. Yet another band member had lost a child, and the significant other was experiencing some serious health challenges. So it's not that we came together to have a pity party as much as I knew everybody's story about what was going on. And, neither here nor there, I just thought, well, let's just gather and experience the healing power of music.
Yes.
And
every time.
I intended this record to be about something good. I intended it to be something that was passionate and expressive. And I believe, as so many people have told me who've listened to this recording, if I just hand it to somebody and they play it, they don't hear the pain for pain's sake. They hear the joy that came out of it. And it's only when people want to know the backstory. I view it as something celebratory and something that may well inspire some artist who's listening to me talk right now. That you don't have to stay in the space. Sometimes we can use art to dig a deeper hole or find a way to climb out of it.
Oh, that's a great way to look at it. I definitely think about that during these times as an artist, bringing that part of me out so the world can see. I mean, why not heal? May as well.
That's right.
Ladies, y'all, and gentlemen, you have been listening to 90.7, and underneath this music you hear is A Night in Tunisia, but also it's a John Brown quintet, and I don't want this to go unheard, so let's play.
Yes, indeed.
Continue playing this song, A Night in Tunisia. You're listening to the John Brown Quintet here at 90.7 WNCU. This is the WNCU Artist Care Series. 90.7 WNCU, member-supported radio. And that was A Night in Tunisia, played by John Brown Quintet. And you have a story behind this arrangement as well.
I got a story behind everything.
I love it. I love it. Thank you.
There's just so much joy in this for me. It's my first record.
Mm-hmm.
And, as I was mentioning earlier about the markers of time, this just represents a really happy place for me.
Mm-hmm.
I started my quintet I had played in several different groups. In fact, I'll give a shout out to Thomas Taylor. Thomas Taylor and I had a band together back in Greensboro when we were at UNCG.
My former professor as well.
Thomas is much, 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 much older than I am.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can keep saying like 37 more muches.
It seems like he's not aging though.
Okay. No, he's aging. Don't let those camera filters fool you. He's aging. No, that's my good friend and fraternity brother actually too. Shout out to all my Alpha brothers out there. But no, it's a very happy period. I started my band, started my own band in 2005, and in fact, one of the first gigs we ever did was the wedding of a student, Dustin Rohrer.
Okay.
So I got to shout out Dustin because that was like our first real gig. And back during that time, it was still Brian Miller, Ray Codrington, Gabriel Evans, but Russell Lacey was the drummer then.
I remember Russell Lacey.
Yeah, Big Russ was the original drummer in the John Brown Quintet. And then as things evolved, Adonis came along and we went in the studio and made this record. And it's such a joyous thing for me to hear it. Because of what it represents. It's one of those things where I just aspired to say something from my own voice, with my own voice, and wanted to be able to create what was in me, share what was in me. So it was the quintet was a great place for us. I was happy to have Ray in the band. Ray is one of my mentors. I first met Ray in Fayetteville. We used to play shows at the Fort Bragg Playhouse together. And like I was telling you earlier, there are a lot of people I need to shout out right now as influences. Ray Codrington is one. Ray's like 80-something now. I talked to him just a few months ago. I need to call Ray today.
Yes.
But Ray Codrington, Malachi Sharp was a vibraphone player in Fayetteville who was a huge influence. I used to play in R&B bands after school. And, we played the old, Confunction stuff. And,
so cool.
There was a band in Fayetteville called Chocolate Buttermilk. But Malachi and Felix Sawyer, Tom Gavin, and Walter McPherson is a person I mentioned who's a guitar player. But Walter McPherson used to come to my house and just play when I was a teenager. So, but anyway, it just brings back all these happy memories about the time when I was learning music and discovering who I was.
Right.
And it was a moment for me to make this record as my first one. And I should mention this, by the way. The first record I ever played on was a record by a singer named Melva Houston.
Oh.
Melva, so our group was called, the band Thomas and I had together was called In the Black. And Melva gave us some of our first gigs to accompany a singer. And I got to think, just send love and prayers to her. I heard this morning that she's gone into hospice. I'm sad to have to say that because I love Melva so much, but it's fitting because the very first recorded John Brown anything you'll hear on Melva Houston's record called Live at Gino's Underground.
You know what? I want us to. I wish we could pull that up. Maybe we can find that in a second.
If I could find it somewhere, I don't know where
we're going to have to get you back for another series in a few. But ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to. This is the Jazz Stage, but also WNCU Cares Artist Series, and I'm just stepping back because I'm listening to some really great stories from John Brown. He's a bassist, but not only that, he's a jazz aficionado, an educator, and really for the arts. And so he has so many different stories to share, and hopefully we can get more stories to not scram into the next hour, but we'll have some time to listen to you in the next hour. We're going to leave you at the top of the set, or take you to the top of the set on Moaning. This is from your album, Terms of Art. So I'm looking forward to hearing this. And you got everybody on there. Ray Codrington on trumpet.
Yep.
And
Brian
then you
Miller,
have
saxophone, Gabe Evans on piano, and Adonis Rose on drums.
Sounds good. Let's listen to Moaning right here at 90.7 WNCU. Come back to the next hour of WNCU Cares Artist Series.
Black is the color of my true love's hair. His face, so soft and wondrous fair, the purest eyes and the strongest hands. I love the ground on where he stands. Black is the color of my true love's hair. I love my lover, and well he knows I love the ground on where he goes. And still I pray that the time will come when he and I will be as one. Black is the color of my true love's hair. Oh, my true love's hair.
90.7 WNCU, member-supported radio. How are you? This is the Jazz Stage, and we are in the WNCU Cares Artist Series. And our second guest is John Brown. He is in the studio, and this was one of his songs. Well, it wasn't his song, but he arranged this song, and he has a story about "Black is the Color of My True Love's Hair," a song that we famously have know that Nina Simone made it really famous. But it's what 18th century?
Yes, 18th century,
17th century song.
Way back in the day.
Way back in the day. Tell me about this song.
So this is Nina Freelon, my dear friend who I love so much.
Another local artist.
Yes. I talked with her a good bit yesterday, actually.
Nice.
So this is a celebratory record for many reasons. If my memory is correct, this is her first record on Concord. She had been with Columbia before this. And I had just joined the band, and in fact, this is a band arrangement. We all were traveling, mostly in Europe during this time. We traveled a lot and played this music on the road, and then went in the studio. And I learned then that is the recipe.
Yeah.
The trio at the time
Wow.
accompanying Nina was me, Bill Anshell, who's out in Seattle now, on piano, and Woody Williams, who is now Kina Boto, who I think he's still in Atlanta, on drums. Mm-hmm. But this is a great triumph for us because she got to take her traveling band, her touring band, into the studio, and in fact, this is the first Grammy nomination for me to get to share in this record. So this is a really, really special project for, again, we're just in Europe all the time, traveling the world all the time, getting to just have such a great time with this music. Her sister-in-law, Cass Freelon, was our road manager. So, I mean, we really were a family. And it's a great, again, these records just bring back memories. It's just so many good memories.
I'm glad they do. And it seems like they're bringing back some really good memories. Just the joy that you're telling me the story. So you're on the road and you're playing this music day in and day out, and you're creating something. Why did you say that it was a kind of like a nut, like the I forget the word you used, but the word you used was, it's like the blueprint to taking it into the studio, because you just evolve, or?
Well, the music grows with you, and you grow because of the music's influence on you. And every audience with whom you interact has something to say about it. They're part of that recipe. And for me, I learned from this experience, learned from Nina that indeed is the recipe. We knew these arrangements cold going into the studio. This is music that we had been playing, and being in that studio. Where were we? It was one of my first times being in a huge studio like that. They had in L.A. I think it was Mad Hatter's in L.A. where Chick Corea had recorded.
Oh, wow!
Some of the L.A. Philharmonic had done their stuff. So that was a real honor for me to even set foot in there, let alone be the bass player.
Yeah.
But it was great because there was really no nervousness, no pressure, no real uncertainty. Ricky Woodard, by the way, who was playing saxophone on the record. Also, Alice Acuna is on that record on percussion. But they were the only new elements there. So it was really comfortable. It was a really joyous session that just documented what we had been doing night after night when we traveled. A lot of times now when I make records, I get called for the purpose of making a record, right? So we don't always get to rehearse as much as you'd like. And it's not simply documenting what a band has been doing. It's a goal-oriented exercise. And this record was a celebration of what this band had been doing. And and it was fun. It's a part of Nina's genius.
I enjoyed listening to that. That had me moving. And if you can't move to the music, then what are you doing?
That's right.
There's a song that you have, T for Two. Can you tell me a little bit before?
Oh yeah,
we get to it.
So another great recording experience. Stephen Riley is one of our state gems. He's a fantastic saxophone player, clarinetist too. So he had reached out to me. He's on Steeplechase, and he had reached out to me, wanted to do a record, and we talked about it and rehearsed these arrangements. And we went and recorded this down in Steve Bailey's studio in Myrtle Beach. The funny thing about this, and these are his arrangements. They're just great. I picked this tune because he just, we were just playing together, and he says, "Man, we should just play this Well, I won't give it away, but this is his idea. But anyway, that day of the recording session
excited.
in North Carolina and South Carolina, you know what happens in summertime? We get hurricanes and all, you know, whatever it is, hurricane, tornado, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So the day I was leaving, where was I living? I was living in Durham then. The day I was leaving Durham or Chapel Hill, I forget, we had a hurricane or a tornado or something, and I drove in that weather.
Come
to
something or high water, right?
It was high water and rain. The rain is not supposed to go sideways. The rain was going sideways. The wind was blowing that hard, and I was determined I was not going to miss this session. To be with Stephen, to be on Steeplechase, to go to Myrtle Beach, and to be in Steve Baylor's studio.
Right.
I was going to get there.
And you did, right?
I did.
So I'm gonna make our listeners anticipate this song. Just I want you to yearn for this song because we have a short pause, but when we return, you're gonna hear the sounds of John Brown on bass. This is T for Two, a Stephen Riley, not duo, it's a quintet.
It's a duo.
Oh,
the whole record's
you
a duo
all are
record.
in for a treat. All right, you're listening to 90.7 WNCU Cares Artist Series at the station. After the short pause, we'll hear the sounds of Stephen Riley, T for Two, John Brown. .7 WNCU. WNCU Cares Artist Series, bringing you saxophonist Stephen Riley and bassist John Brown to create T for Two, their version of T for Two. That was cute. I like that. Can you call jazz cute?
You know, you can call it however you are inspired. That's what I tell my students. This is a music that allows you to connect with yourself and express yourself. So however you are inspired, that's the deal.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, not only is John Brown a performer, a bassist, he's also an educator, composer, and an actor. An actor. I'll say the third time. You've been busy. Yeah, I saw that curriculum vitae. Very much so. You tell me about your acting career. Do you want to talk about T for Two?
Sure. No, well, I'll let T for Two stand. I'll give Stephen credit for that arrangement. There's some very imaginative arrangements on this, simply because it's a bass saxophone record. It's just the two of us, so we did some very interesting things. Again, thanks, Stephen, for letting me be a part of that.
It was a healthy exchange of notes and play. I enjoyed it.
Well, it was a great conversation. That's what I remember most. We just conversed. Yes, and it was cool.
You listened.
Yes.
So tell me, let's jump into the acting. You're an actor.
I am an actor. I have done stage productions. Started doing that as a musician only, And then that evolved into being a musician with speaking roles, and then having speaking roles. I've been very blessed in my career to be invited to participate in many different areas of arts. But I've been in feature films. I guess the most significant one.
Yeah, tell us.
It was Bolden.
Wow.
I got my Screen Actors Guild affiliation for that, along with several other musicians in the area. Thank you. Wynton Marsalis. I've known Wynton for a long time, and Wynton is one of the executive producers of this, so he created lots of opportunities for the film to portray real musicians the way we always wish they would.
So go out and watch Bolden. Watch it tonight. What are you doing?
In Bolden, I am the bass player in the Louis Armstrong Band, and they're all musicians. Ernest Turner is among Blueford Thompson, I think, was in that. Andre Carter from New Orleans. Jason Marsalis is on drums in that band. But there are other musicians who are all around who played in various musical configurations throughout the movie.
That's so exciting.
It was cool.
So exciting.
It was cool. And you could tell it's an interesting thing because we were on set. You could tell people weren't used to having real musicians because acting is hurry up and wait.
Yeah.
And when our doubles had moved out of our spaces and we're sitting there still having to wait, we were like, we got these instruments, let's just play. So we were playing all the time.
Exactly.
And after we played a song, and the lighting crew and the gaffers and everybody they would clap every time. So it was cool.
Yeah.
My first movie was with Debbie Allen as an extra down in
wow,
Wilmington.
with Debbie Allen?
Debbie Allen,
Tell me more
Jasmine
about
Guy, and in fact,
one of the a different
player.
world.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, the crew.
It was called Stomping at the Savoy.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, I'm in the presence of greatness here. This is awesome. John Brown in the station.
It was cool.
It was cool. So you're an actor. You're also a singer.
Ah, yes.
We have a song for you.
Yes, my friend Nina and I, I love Nina, but Nina has created an opportunity for me to do a singing debut. And I don't know if there's anything else to say about it other than just to...
Let's just hear what it is. This is Baby It's Cold Outside at 90.7 WNCU.
I really can't stay.
Baby, it's cold outside.
I've got to go away.
But baby, it's cold outside.
This evening has been
hoping that you
so very nice.
I'll hold your hands. They're just like
my mother will start to worry.
Oh, beautiful. What's your hurry?
My father will be pacing the
Come over
floor.
here. Come listen to this fireplace roar.
So really I'd better scurry.
Oh, beautiful. Please don't hurry.
Well, maybe just a half drink more.
Put some records on while I
The neighbors might think.
But baby, it's bad out there.
Say, what's in this drink?
Ain't no cabs to be had out there.
I wish I knew
Your
how
eyes are like stars
to
right now.
break the spell.
I'll take your hat. Your hair looks swell.
I ought to say no, 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 sir.
Mind if I move in closer?
At least I'm gonna say that I tried.
What's the sense of hurting my pride?
I really can't stay.
Baby, don't hold out.
Baby, it's cold outside.
outside.
This welcome has been
How lucky that you
so
dropped in.
nice and warm.
Look out the window at that
My
star.
sister will be suspicious.
Gosh, your lips look delicious.
My brother will be there at the
Waves
door.
upon a tropical
My
ship.
maiden aunt's mind is
Ooh, your
vicious.
lips sure look delicious.
Well, maybe just a half drink
Oh,
more.
never such a blizzard before.
I've got to go home.
But baby, you'll freeze out there.
Say, lend me your coat.
It's up to your knees out there.
You've really been
I feel when
grand.
you touch my
But
hand.
can't you see?
How can you do this thing to me?
There's bound to be talk tomorrow.
Girl, just think of my lifelong
At
sorrow.
least there will be plenty in flight.
And what if you caught pneumonia and
I
died?
really can't stay.
Girl, get over that hold out.
All but it's cold outside. People hand in hand, have I lived to see the milk and honey land, where hate's a dream and love forever stands. Is this a vision in my mind? The law was never passed. Somehow all men feel we're truly free at last. Have we really gone this far through space and time? Is this a vision in my mind? I'm not one who make believes. I know that leaves are green. They only turn to brown when autumn comes around. I know just what I say. Today's not yesterday, and all things have an ending. But what I'd like to know is, could a place like this exist so beautiful? Or do we have to spread our wings and fly away to the visions in my mind? I'm not one who make believes. I know that leaves are green. They only turn to brown when autumn comes around. I know just what I say. Today's not yesterday, and all things have an ending. But what I like to know is, could a place like this exist so beautiful? Or do we have to spread our wings and fly away to the vision in our mind? Do we have to take our wings and fly away to the visions in our mind?
Celebrating the birthday of Stevie Wonder. That was Visions, played and sung by Nina Freelon and John Brown.
Mm-hmm.
You're listening to the WNCU Cares Artist Series, the John Brown versus Brown. John versus Brown. John v. Brown. Is that what it is? I'm enjoying this.
Yes, indeed.
So tell me about Nina, the Visions. This was part of the tour that you were on.
Right.
Yeah.
This is one of those songs that was a part of that tour that led to the recording of Shaking Free, where Black is the Color of My True Love's Hair is on. But just, this is Nina's arrangement. She loves Stevie Wonder. In fact, she has a record out. I think it's called Tales of Wonder.
Yes.
So now is a good time as Nina to check back in on that record. But yeah, this is, the fun continues. The celebrations continue with that music, that record, that period of time. It's just a wonderful document.
Agreed. So tell me, there are ways that you can get in contact. There are ways to get in contact with you. So share with us.
Yes. Well, I am most often found pre-COVID. You can find me at Duke on certain days of the week. These days, I'm keeping it close to home. I'm doing my sheltering, keeping myself and my family safe. But jbjazz.com is my website, and I'll keep any news happening with me about upcoming recordings and thankfully any performances that might get organized. They'll all be there.
And you're teaching online right now because we had to move online.
Yes.
Our courses. So how are you teaching big band online?
Oh, well, that's a trick. I've been trying to find ways to engage with musicians live distantly. It's been an easier transition than I expected to shift our classes, my lecture classes, to online because we can still see each other in an online conferencing environment, and students can still prepare their assignments and present them in an online presentation environment. But playing live with musicians, I mean, this is one of the good things to come out of this is to recognize that there is no substitute for that. There have been people who have tried to come up with this app or that app, and some of my band members and I have been trying this, and it just does not work.
I was trying to jump on board for a little bit, but just being in there in front of a student and letting them know, hey, this is how you move to get this sound.
That's right.
Or I can go to the whiteboard and I can, I understand.
Right. This layer of art is about human interaction, and I hope that one of our society's big takeaways is that you cannot substitute live performance. It just cannot be done.
Right.
You can enjoy recordings, you can capture it, but there is just something about being in a room, and now we know that technology can't even find a way to duplicate it. So my hope is that on the other side of this, that everybody remembers, as I wrote in that piece.
I was about to say that quote. I mean, that was pretty powerful. You wrote, I want Duke to be first in acknowledging the human need for art during the difficult times, and to show how we as a university are resilient. We can lead the charge in reminding everyone that our society needs art and that society is also resilient. Talk about that.
I think that says it all.
Yeah.
My hope is
Get
that
out
people
there,
will
folks.
remember what's saving our lives right now. When the best way that I help bring it home for people is that when you get off quote unquote work, when you're done with your online conferencing, you're listening to music, you're watching a movie, you're reading a book, you're studying a painting. You pick your area of artistry, watching dance, whatever it is. Artists are saving your life right now.
It's connecting. It's a connecting force.
That's right. That's right.
It's very powerful, therapeutic, and I'm glad that we have music here to provide that for our listeners at 90.7 WNCU. There is something we were discussing earlier about education, and I think you gave an example. Tell me about that.
So
set us up.
Right. I am perpetually a student. There's always something to learn, and I'm always going to have my hand in the air to be called on to ask a question so I can learn something. And I try to instill that ethic in my students because, there's a saying that I'm going to mess it up, but it's something like the more you know, the less you know, or something like that. And, I just want to know so many things, but I have my students find a foundation in what the groove of music is.
Mm-hmm.
And whether I've been playing in an orchestra or in a country and western band on a recording or in a rock band, jazz band, whatever, there's a groove that is a uniting force in music.
Agreed.
There's actually footage somebody showed me way back in the day, and I was playing in the North Carolina Symphony. I played with them since 1992.
Yes.
I don't so much anymore, but we played Shostakovich. I think it was Shostakovich 7, and somebody I guess they were filming that concert for a promo or something, but I was just bouncing my head along with this groove that was in Shostakovich. So I recognize that it's always there. And the other day, there's music on in my house all the time. And the other day I had, I forget what streaming service, but it was playing, how the algorithms will take you from one to the next. I don't really know how this came to be, but it was Van Morrison and Joey DeFrancesco together.
Wow.
And since Van's name is first, again, I wasn't in that zone that day, so I don't know how the algorithm took me to that. But
how did it lead you there?
Yeah, how did it lead me there? But I know Joey well. He's my friend and buddy. But Joey is just grooving so hard on this recording.
Wow. We're in for a treat. I guess I'm in for a treat. So after the pause, we'll hear that song. We'll hear the song. It's entitled "You're Driving Me Crazy." Van Morrison and Joey DeFrancesco. What a pair.
Yes, right.
I'm looking forward to hearing that. You're listening to WNCU Cares Artist Series on the Jazz Stage, and we have in the studio John V. Brown. Wow, I'm excited. I was going to say that because it's just really awesome to be able to interview now. We've come full circle. So you're listening to 90.7 WNCU. Sit tight. You're Driving Me Crazy is up next.
You're driving me crazy. What did I do? Tell me, what did I do? My tears for you make everything hazy. Cloud in the skies of blue. True. Well, the friends who were near me to cheer me, believe me, they knew. But you were the kind that would hurt me, desert me when I needed you. Oh, you're driving me crazy. What did I do? What did I do to you? country were near me to cheer me, believe me, then you. But you were the country would hurt me, desert me when I needed you. You were driving me crazy. What did I do? What did I do to you? Oh, what did I do? Oh, but to you. What did I do to you? What did I do? What did I do to you?
90.7 WNCU member-supported radio. You are listening to The Groove, played by, well, it's not The Groove, but it is The Groove. But that song was You're Driving Me Crazy.
Yes. An unlikely pairing. I'm still kind of trying to wrap my brain around it, but there's one thing that is indisputable is that groove.
Right.
I like to call Joe and he's like, hey, bro, I just checked your record out. What's happening?
What's happening? Pulled him in. I wouldn't imagine Van Morrison, the songs that I heard him play or sing on, they didn't have that. It just didn't feel like it had a groove.
Right.
But hearing his voice on this track, it just set in.
Yeah, yes, exactly. It just set right there.
Well, you've been listening to us, me, Serena, interview John Brown. He's a local artist, educator, a jazz aficionado, all around great guy. And I've been enjoying the stories, listening to the stories. There's so much more. He's also a lawyer. Also, just so much. Renaissance man. Hat goes off to you. There's one more song that we're going to play by you, Buhana Buhana.
Right.
And you're going to set that one up.
Right.
But ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to the Jazz Stage, WNCU Cares Artist Series. Tune in next week. We have a special guest for you. And I'm going to give you maybe he plays the trumpet. He's a local musician. And he's an all-around great guy. I'll leave it at that. So tell us about Buhana Buhana.
At one time, someone you saw in my bands.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thank you for this honor, and just want to say, everybody, sending much peace and love and strength during this time.
For sure.
The music will get us through. We'll get each other through. So to conclude, I think that this is a good home base thing to share. Terms of Art was my very first record, and B.H. Hudson, formerly with the station, was a consultant for me. I talked with her about what it's one thing or another, and the short story is I was very proud to bring my record over and show it to her, and she was very complimentary, and she said, I want to be the first person to play one of your records on the air. So this song is the one she picked. So she said, go get in your car real quick. So I ran out to my car to hear this song that BH picked to play.
Right, here we are, Buhana Buhana. You've been listening to Jazz Stage, WNCU Cares Artist Series. Have a wonderful and blessed afternoon. DL is next, followed by the news and Evening Jazz at 90.7 WNCU.
This is Branford Marcellus, and I listen to jazz on WNCU Durham and online at WNCU.org.